Alrighty, good morning everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is July the 11th. It's a Friday today. You can see we had some news overnight regarding tariffs once again. As I mentioned, a lot of it's going to have to do with tariffs now. With tariffs earlier this week, actually over last weekend, we ended up having the tariff news with most of the tariffs being in effect on August the 1st. So now until essentially August the 1st, we're going to have a lot of tariff news. Trump mentioned that now he's going to 100% have tariffs on August the 1st on most imports in other countries as well, but you know that can always change. But for now, you can see with the tariffs, we've had a lot of these pops now that are being shorted. So if we quickly go, just a quick overview, but you can see nice little reaction off our main objective, which was our last week's highs on the ES. We'll talk about this chart here a little bit more in a second. What's up, everyone? Good morning. What's up, Teddy? Good morning, Daniela, KO, Joseph, Nantali. What's up, everyone? Jeff, JT, Paul, B Roots, Fan, AD. What's up? Good morning, Martin, Monty, Josh, Ryan, Wayne, Ashley. Good morning, Darth, Jen, Jose. Good morning, Paul, Robert, Teddy, Sina, Luis, Eurytzia, Cuba, Audrey, Jill, Aubrey. What's up, Philip, T-Bell, I am. What's up? Am, Kit, Monette, Candy, Marcus. Yeah. What's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. As for today, it's a Friday. We actually don't have any red folder news. Let's hop right into the major indices. So first things first, as you can see, coming to this week, we actually haven't really done too much in the overall market. Really, this is this week's price action. Our key levels was our last week's highs, which was our all-time highs that we actually hit yesterday. So coming into yesterday, the key levels that we have marked out was our previous day highs. We mentioned if you can get above our previous day highs, the next level was really your all-time highs. 6332. So you can see a little bit of consolidation once we're able to get above it later into the session. Nice hold above that level for this continued push towards all-time highs. So as you can see, all-time highs, nice little reaction off all-time highs. And then ultimately in the after hours, we had some tariff news with US and Canada. So Trump mentioned, I think exactly, can't remember off the top of my head, but it is, let's see this right here. I think it was 35% tariffs if I'm not mistaken. So as you can see, stocks fall pre-market on Trump ramps up tariffs. Oops, that's kind of weird. On Canada, he mentioned there were, I can't find it, mentioned there's tariffs coming into effect. So overall market, a little bit of reaction here in the pre-market. Now we're basically back into the area that we opened up at. So as you can see here, we opened up the week at your 6288. We haven't really done too much this week. Now we already took out your major objective, which is your previous all-time highs level. So now for the market, I'm a lot more neutral. If you go into the SPY chart, you can see similar thing. Yesterday, our key level that we have marked out, 624.50. We mentioned if you can get above your previous day highs, next level is going to be your all-time highs, 626. So you can see SPY got above your your previous high that we created here on Wednesday. Once we're able to do that, we ended up gravitating up and towards your all-time highs, 626 here on the higher time frames, and of course, overnight session, we end up gapping down here with news. Currently, we're opening up basically in the exact area that we opened the week off at, which is close to your 623 here. So for the SPY coming into today, we do have this pretty big gap down here on the overall markets. I'm more neutral coming to today after this news. Really a little bit more neutral. Obviously, the higher time frames is still very bullish. But you can see now, at least this week, every pop that we've had has really been shorted towards the downside, right? You can see all these pops, especially on the ES and the NQ, right? We've had these nice moves towards your highs, but ultimately we've not been able to hold and we ended up rejecting. So as you can see here with SPY, now we're back down in towards our 623. As for the NQ, there's a lot of divergence yesterday. So for the ES, we ended up gravitating towards your all-time highs, as you can see right here. We end up having this nice push up and towards your 626 after getting above your previous day highs. You can see for the QQQ though, we actually never got above your previous high that we created on Wednesday. And you can see how much divergence there was, at least within the first hour of market open, right? Qs end up having this drop towards the downside, whereas SPY was essentially holding up. Qs went from the top of the range all the way down to the low of the range. So for the NQ coming to today, fairly similar thesis to the ES. I'm a little bit more neutral now. You can see a little bit more consolidation coming into this week. As for the NQ key levels that we were going to have marked out, now what we do have is still the exact same levels, right? We haven't really changed the levels. We have your all-time highs, 23. We can actually just mark this out just a little bit more. So we basically have your 23,000. As for other levels that we do have marked out, 22,960. You can see we have multiple touches off this general area along with our 22,900. So for the NQ coming into today, I don't really have a clear higher time frame thesis. You can just see it's a lot more just consolidation, at least coming into this week. So at least for upside today, I would be interested if we could reclaim back above your 22,960. That's going to be now your pre-market high here in equilibrium for the NQ. As for potential shorts, I'm not too interested in shorts here as well. So shorts for me is going to be underneath your previous day lows and your pre-market lows here as well. So for the QQQ, now let's mark out the key levels. For Q's key level is your 554. So you can see we have multiple touches Monday and Tuesday's highs. Wednesday, nice reaction. Thursday, nice reaction. So if you want to see some more upside, reclaim back above your 554. If not, we do have a very small gap towards the downside, which is just going to be towards your 552. So key level today is going to be this 554 here for the QQQ. With this gap down here, with it being fairly neutral for the week, we'll see kind of the price action and how it develops within the first kind of 10 to 15 minutes. Now for the overall markets, as I mentioned, I'm not overall like higher time frame is still bullish, but at least intraday price action for this week a lot more neutral now after yesterday's price action and really the first couple of days we've had where we've ended up being shorted down. So for the SPY and Qs, we'll just keep an eye out on SPY. It's going to be your 622.50s, and then for the Qs, it's just going to be this 554 here. Nothing is really clear. Let's go on to some of the tech names that we do have. Tesla. Key levels for Tesla, if I actually get rid of them, is going to be this full gap fill that we have created. This is really your key level 312.73. As for Tesla yesterday, we ended up having a nice push right off the bat once we're able to hold above your previous day highs. As you can see, 300 key psych level. And we also ended up having this nice push above this 304. So for this one, right off the bat, we end up holding your 304 for this nice push higher. Didn't really have too much continuation. And then ultimately later into the session, once we're able to reclaim back above your 304, we end up having this push back up and towards your 312.73. So key levels coming to today here for Tesla that I'm going to have marked out is just going to be this key pivot high that we made in the morning. And now this is also going to be your pre-market low. So for Tesla today, key levels is your 308. We have multiple touches. If you do want to see a little bit more upside for the potential full gap fill here on the daily time frame, what I would like to see is the hold of your 308 for this push up in towards your 312.73. So if you go into the regular trading hours, you can see we have this gap, and then we also have your 5-minute gap all the way back up and towards your 315. So I would like to see Tesla move back up and towards your previous day highs, along with this 312.73 coming to today, as long as you maintain above your 308. So 308 is going to be key here on Tesla. As for a few other names, so the semiconductors, yesterday we ended up hitting all-time highs, a little bit of a pullback on some of these semiconductors. As for NVIDIA, the key levels that we have marked out is our 164.43. So this is our key level here for NVIDIA. You can see this all-time highs. Right off the bat, we just got right underneath that all-time highs level. Showed a little bit of weakness, but you can see ultimately came back towards your 164.43. And now you can see there's multiple reactions off this general area. So for the next level for NVIDIA, it's going to be the reclaim back above your 164.43. We could also be looking for the higher lows for a push up in towards your 164.43, or now you're going to be waiting for the reclaim and hold above your previous all-time highs level along with your previous day highs here as well. So that's your key level, 164.43 previous day highs along with your Wednesday's highs. Other levels that I do have marked out now is just really just going to be based off of intraday price action. The level towards the downside really is your 160.94. As for a few other names, Apple, not too much to talk about this one. Nice push yesterday, actually offer 210.50. But this one had a little bit of news here that ended up dropping it in the pre-market. So for Apple, higher time frames look solid, but we had news. Now we're just right back down in towards your 210.50. Key levels that I'm going to have marked out really is just this 210.50 here on the higher time frames. If we can maintain your 210.50, we can see this push back up in towards your previous day close 212. I'm not interested really in shorting kind of anything in the overall market until the Qs can show me a little bit more weakness. As for other semiconductors, let's go on to AMD. So AMD, nice hold of our 142, the exact level we talked about yesterday for this push back towards the upside. AMD, at least on the higher time frame, still looks really good to me. So key levels, now what we have is your 142. We also have your 144 here, which coincides with your previous day close. For some more upside on AMD coming to today, hold above your 144 for a potential push up in towards your 146. If we just reject off this 144, we're just going to come right back down in between yesterday's range. So 144 key level today. As for Meta, this one key level that we had marked out yesterday was our 732. Ended up having a little bit of reaction just right back into the area that we broke out from. So not too much to talk about on Meta. As for Google, not really too much here on the higher time frame. So you can see for the overall market, overall, we've had a lot of consolidation on the general indices, especially with QQQ along with SPY. SPY ended up having this nice push up in towards your previous all-time highs level. But for the QQQ, you can see a lot more consolidation this week. We haven't really had a clear direction really all week. You can see Monday's price action, Tuesdays, Wednesday, we had that nice pop, but this ultimately ended up reversing within an hour. And then Thursday, we ended up rejecting once again off of our all-time highs level. So you can see coming to this week, fairly neutral on the overall markets. Haven't really had a clear trend intraday, at least this week. Overall, higher time frames is still very much bullish because we are at all-time highs. But intraday price action this week hasn't been the greatest. So that's why a lot of these tech names, we haven't had too many trends. We have a couple continuation plays, but overall intraday price action, not too many trends with the Qs, most pops being shorted. We haven't had too much continuation. So with Google, the rest of the names, not too much to talk about, at least coming to this week. It's really just dependent on the SPY and Qs themselves. As for a few other tickers, Amazon, I still like Amazon this week, a lot of consolidation, but it's basically doing the same thing it did previously, which is just this consolidation, and then we end up having this nice break. Similar thing for Amazon. Now, if you can break above your 225, that's going to be key for a push up and towards potentially your 230. So for Amazon, I am still very much interested in this name. If now we can break above, it's going to be this 225. If you can break above your 225 here on the higher time frames, I would like to see this base above your 225 for a push up and towards your 227 here and above. As for Netflix, yeah, not too much to talk about on this one. So really coming to today here with this gap down on the SPY and Qs and the major indices. My game plan coming into today is just going to be keeping an eye out on your 554 on Qs and this 622.50 here on the SPY. As for names that I'm still interested in, NVIDIA, just because higher time frame, still very much bullish. Higher lows are being maintained. It's still in a trend here on the intraday time frame, you can see this is Monday's price action. So we're still very much bullish here coming to this week. As for Tesla, I'm interested in this one here as well, above your 308. And then for AMD, I like this one as well, above your 144 that it's going to have to reclaim for any sort of continued push back towards the upside. For all the other tickers, we're just going to look at the key levels that we have, primarily just your previous day highs or your previous day lows on any sort of name. All right. If you guys do have any tickers, you guys can drop them in the chat or any charts you'd like me to go over. We don't have any red folder news here as well, so I'll just go over kind of charts and tickers now. As always, if you guys are enjoying that, appreciate if you guys hit the like button. Free watch list is down below if you guys haven't joined that. And as well, make sure to follow me on X if you want to keep updated to some live commentary throughout the day. All right, what's up? Good morning. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Hood looks good for more upside. Yeah, Hood's been absolutely crushing it. SoFi been awesome. One of the leaders this quarter, pushing towards the upside. As for Hood, you can see higher time frame, very much intact. It hasn't had any major dip. Even Palantir, right? We've had a couple of dips here and there, but for Hood so far, we haven't had a single dip. We've already hit our 100 key level, but basically this whole run, right? We've had this major dip here where it dropped 50%. But ever since we've had that 50% correction, we've really just been going straight up, all the way up and towards our all-time highs, which was our 84. And now we're at our 100 key psych level, which was a major psych level here on the higher time frames. As for Hood, levels we talked about yesterday was our 94. If you can reclaim back above your 94 and hold, we can see this push back up and towards the highs. In this case now, we end up holding 94 here on the higher time frames. Key levels for Hood is going to be your all-time highs and your 100 key psych once again. So for Hood coming into today, what you would like to see, really maintain above your 95, 96. If you can maintain this, this is your higher low key pivot level, or another scenario, break above now your previous day highs for a push up in towards your 100 key psych. Palantir. As for Palantir, another name that ended up hitting one of our main objectives. So Palantir key levels that we have marked out is our 144.90. So we mentioned this is really one of our main objectives. And then we also had your all-time highs level marked out. So this is basically the area we drop from. As you can see, we end up dropping here with news pushing towards the downside. So this is the level that we wanted to see Palantir gravitate towards. 144.97. And you can see yesterday, nice kind of retest right off the bat, off of your previous day highs, nice push up in towards your 144.90s, ultimately rejected off this level. You can see a little bit of a nice pullback here. So for Palantir now, what I really like to see, maintain above your 139. That's your higher low key pivot level here on the higher time frames. And then the next level is really back above your 143. If you want to see some more upside, you're either going to be looking for the bounce off 139 or the reclaim back above your 143. As for HIMS, this one you can see nice push. We talked about this level being key, 48.50 up and towards your last week's highs. Now this is going to be the next level here on the higher time frames. So coming into next week or potentially today, we're going to keep an eye out on your 51.50. You can see so far higher lows are being built up on this ticker after this really big push down with news. We'd like to see the reclaim back above your 51.50 for this push back towards the upside here. Yeah, let me go over MSTR and Hood here as well. So Bitcoin, we talked about Bitcoin not too long ago. Higher time frame was set to break out, right? Just a lot of consolidation. Overall market headed towards all-time highs. Next one that is most likely going to gravitate towards here is Bitcoin. And now you can see, right, ended up having this nice break higher. And now we had this continuation above your one, really this 112. It's in literally it has 6 digits, which so it's our 112.020 here on Bitcoin. So key levels that we have marked out really was this previous all-time highs back from May, and now you can see after breaking outside of your all-time highs. We're having this nice push towards the upside. So a few sympathy plays like MSTR and Coin are moving nicely. Ethereum finally starting to show some strength here as well. So Ethereum has been lagging the overall market. Really, it's kind of been basing for the past few years, but Ethereum now, the key level that we have is this right here, right? Basically our 2900 key level here on the higher time frames. Or you can see how many touches we had off this general area. So now if we can reclaim back above this level, hold above this level, I would like to see this push back up and towards the upside with Bitcoin. Key level for me now on Ethereum is going to be back up and towards this high. So this is basically the area that we dropped from. There's a lot of news and a lot of volume during this day. So next logical level here on Ethereum is if we can maintain above your 2800, we could potentially see this push back up and towards this 3400 here on the higher time frames. As for Coin looking really good here on the higher time frames. I've been mentioning Coin here for a while. Next levels is really your all-time highs. So this one, key level, holding here on the weekly time frame. So breaking above, holding here on the weekly time frame above your 340. Now what I'd like to see is this push up and towards your all-time highs, 440 here. So for Coinbase, if we go back onto the lower time frames, key levels is going to be this 429. Other levels I'm going to have marked out here as well now is going to be your previous day high. So a couple levels for Coin, at least yesterday, was our 370 here. You can see we've had multiple touches. Once we're able to reclaim and hold above your 370, which was your Wednesday's highs, we end up having a super solid base above this level for this push back up in towards your 381. And now you can see we're having this nice push in the after hours. Key levels now is going to be your previous day highs, 388. So 388 here, your previous day highs level. You can also mark out your 381. Regardless here on Coin, higher time frames now, very much bullish. What we like to see on the lower time frames is the higher lows being tagged. So key levels today, 387 previous day highs for a potential push back towards the upside, or a little bit of a bigger dip down in towards your 381. As for MSTR, key levels that we have marked out in this case, you can see the daily time frame starting to curl here as well, is your 440, which we end up hitting here in the pre-market. You have a couple more daily key pivot highs back from December of last year. But currently, MSTR now, with this big push higher, key level that we do have is your previous day highs, which is all the way back at your 422. So a little bit farther away, we're going to have to mark out your pre-market levels. What I would like to see on MSTR now is really the break back above your 438 for this continued push back towards the upside. Guidance from you, Tony, about issues with Discord. Yeah, I'll take a look at your email. I'll take a look at it this weekend once I have some time. IWM. So IWM, nice push towards the upside. My final target, at least for now, is your 226 here on the higher time frames. Not quite hit that level here for IWM, but end up having this nice retest right off of your 223, and we end up having this continued push towards the upside. Now with this little bit of a gap down here on the overall markets, less bullish now on IWM, but key level is going to be this 223. If we can reclaim back above your 223, we can see this push up and towards your 225. If you maintain underneath your 223, we're going to see this push back down in towards your pre-market lows. Let me scroll down here for YM. Yeah, YM, it's very similar to all the other indices themselves. At least for YM, you can see a little bit lagging behind the overall market. All-time highs is on the ES and the NQ. As for YM, you can see this nice push that we've had. Now what I'd like to see is consolidation and eventually for YM to push back up in towards your all-time high. So key level is really this level that I broke down from, which is your 44,774. And if you go back onto the lower time frames here, so we're on the 1 hour chart. For now, YM, what I would like to see is really the reclaim and hold back above your 44,774. So for me, YM has to do one of two things, right? Reclaim. If for this pushback towards upside, or now preferably it's going to be right the break above your 45,100 for this continued pushback towards upside. So this is the level we can have marked out on YM. Just a little bit more consolidation with the overall indices coming into this week. Other levels you can also mark out 44,428, which seems like the previous kind of retest level, which is now being used as support, as you can see right here. All right, let me go over a few other ones. As for gold, yeah, so golds end up consolidating. So higher time frame, still in consolidation, forming this wedge pattern. So for gold now, what I'd like to see, so far you can see the buyers are stepping right off the lows. Most likely just going to push right back towards the highs, consolidate, and then eventually have this push back up and towards your all-time highs. So for gold, key levels that we have marked out here on the hourly chart is your 3295 along with our 3346, which is the level that we're currently at. But now what I like to see here for gold is really the reclaim back above this level hold for this push back up and towards the next key levels, which in this case is going to be your 3365 on this one. As for IBIT, so IBIT is another Bitcoin trust. So this one is actually directly correlated. First, you have like MSTR, you have coin. This one is one of the better sympathies if you're looking to trade this one towards the upside. So you can see, at least for IBIT, following along with Bitcoin fairly nicely. The key levels that we have marked out in this case is going to be your previous day highs, which you can see is fairly far away. So previous day highs, 64.82. This one is basically just trading like Bitcoin, but if you were to trade it on a stock version. So key levels, pre-market highs. Now you can also mark out your after hours key levels, which is going to be 66. So at least for Bitcoin, higher time frames, what we like to see now is really just these higher lows be built, preferably hold above. Now it's going to be this 66.22 for this continued pushback towards upside. All right, let me scroll down here as well. Going over these, so curious, a lot of these aren't great for weekly options. What do you recommend generally for these stocks like Bitcoin, Hood, Palantir, etc.? Yeah, those ones are more higher time frame thesis. So if you have a higher time frame thesis, you can look for this week's contracts, or you can look for later term contracts. Preferably when you have things like moving like Nvidia, like Hood, when you have a higher time frame thesis, and that usually means the intraday momentum is going to be a little bit slower, but the higher time frames is clear. So for something like Palantir, right, Hood, you have Oracle, these ones that are moving nicely towards the highs. All you have to do is look for major dips to go long in the market. That's basically, at least for Hood, all these ones, we've been riding it from basically all the way back earlier from May. We've had this thesis that if we can now break above your all-time highs, 65, next level all-time highs. So all these names that have had moves like this, we can expect continuation towards upside with any major dips. Of course, Hood hasn't really had a major dip, but all the other ones that have major dips, you're going to be looking for, right, these big dips in the overall market back into key levels of support for continuation back towards upside. I don't see the watch list on the watch. Yeah, it's in the free watches. So if you scroll down, you'll find it. Today's updates need those BTC levels. Yeah, I think I went over them. At least for Bitcoin now, it's all based off of higher time frames. We can draw out some Fib levels here as well. But for Bitcoin, let me see if I can just draw out some Fibonacci's. Yeah, at least on the daily chart, I mean, you're fairly far away. That's not really that useful. Let's go on to the lower time frames. Let's go into this hourly chart. Mark it out from this swing low. I guess there wasn't really a 50% retracement in this case either. So we'd have to, at least for the Fib, go even on to the lower time frames. Let's mark out this one. This swing low to this swing high. So for Bitcoin, really these final extensions all the way up into kind of this 119,297 key level. At least for the final Fib, basically your 120,000 key psych. If we're marking out down close candles in this case, really the best level of support coming into today for Bitcoin is just going to be this level right here. 116,800 here on Bitcoin with this big pop in the after hours. This is going to be your key level support. And now you can also mark out your all-time highs, which we just made here at 5:30. With a cash account trading option, how can I start trading like you, but with a $3,000 cash account trading options? Yes, the thing about options, the advantage is you can trade with a very small amount of capital. If you're trading with futures, it usually requires more leverage unless you're trading prop firms. But for with options, you can trade with a very small amount. I always recommend if you are starting out, you always want to trade. You want to trade with two to three cons, just because you're able to scale. Trading with one con is fairly difficult, but if you can trade with 2 to 3 cons and practice scaling, that's always going to be the best. I want to know what you do outside the market hours apart from reviewing your trades. Yeah, outside of market hours, I have other things going on, but primarily just trying to, if I'm off the screens, I try and just go outside or pick up some hobbies. CRWVs will 130 hold. Good morning. Never did a video on how to use options like Tesla and Nvidia. Did I miss? Yeah, we always talk about that. We have some in the modules as well, at least for YouTube. I will eventually have like a full course. I still got to make that because it takes a while to make those courses, but eventually I'll have like a full crash course on how to trade options as a beginner. With Bitcoin, with BTC, there's room towards 120. Sympathies like coin, exactly. On zeros, I think today's going to be a little bit more difficult. The move happened over the night session. You'll be able to scalp these if you're going to trade them, but I'll be a little bit more cautious now if you're going to try and play them today, just because you had a nice break and retest hold. The thesis was definitely yesterday. If you're able to capture that at 370 on coin, at least coming to today, you still could be looking for your previous day high retest for this push back up and towards your 398. So you can be looking for the sympathies there as well. Thanks. I did find the video instruction on how to use the Traders Lab indicator on WAP. Nice. All right. Let's scroll up here as well. Okay. I'll go over my game plan coming into today. And I'm most likely going to get ready for market open here now. We don't have any red folder news. So really, we're just kind of based it off of intraday price action and the news that we had overnight. So as for today, really, this is the levels that I have marked out. Our 626 along with our 619. You can see this is where we opened at, really in the middle of the range. So in this case, for the SPY coming into today, we're about to have a pretty big gap towards the upside. If we go into lower time frames, we're basically going to open up right around your 622. We still actually haven't filled that full gap towards the downside. Now we're going to have this gap back towards the upside. So we're going to have two gaps in the overall market here for the SPY and the Qs. What I want to see is really the first kind of 15 to 30 minutes to play out. If you have some strong buyers that step in right off the bat, we could potentially be looking for this gap fill back towards the upside here on the SPY. As for the Q, similar thesis. If we end up having some buyers that step in, currently we're bouncing right off our 522.54, which is our gap that we've created. If we have some strong buyers that step in, potentially can reclaim back above your 554, we can see this push back up and towards your previous day close, which is going to be your 555. As for the tech names that I like the most, I still like NVIDIA here on the higher time frames, just because, right, Monday's price action, you can see this nice continue push higher. What I'd like to see on this name is one of two things: consolidation, potential reclaim for a push back up and towards your 164.43, or this push back above your 164.43 and a hold. Preferably, what I like to see: consolidation, opening range break, retest, and a push up in towards your 164.43, your previous day highs. We could be looking for this retest right here. As for Tesla, I like this one here as well. Base above your 308. If you can maintain your 308, I like to see the higher low off this level for a push back up and towards your 312 and above. As for Apple, just consolidation, not too much to talk about on this one. Similar with Microsoft, Meta. A lot of these ones are just consolidating. Amazon, I'm only interested if it can break above. It's going to be this 225. And then AMD, I'm somewhat interested in this one just because it had news yesterday for a continuation. If you can break above your 144 and hold, we can see this push back up in towards your previous day highs, 146 here. So that's what we have on this ticker. As for other names, let's kind of just quickly scroll through some other tickers here. Yeah, primarily it's just really just those semiconductors that I laid out along with Tesla. And then you have a couple of these Bitcoin sympathies like MSTR and Coin that look nice above your previous day high. So you can keep an eye out. We'll keep an eye out on Coin today off of your 388 previous day highs along with this 381, just because Bitcoin's at all-time highs. Currently, the overall market in itself is ranging, at least this week. Bitcoin just recently broke out. So we'll keep an eye out on at least the Bitcoin names coming to today if they want to see some more continuation, which is going to be above your previous day highs. And then SoFi is just continuing nicely towards the upside. Key level is your 2060. Alrighty. Red folder news. Yeah, red folder news is any critical economic news events that happen during the market. So if you don't know what red folder news events, make sure you search up that economic calendar. What's your favorite 0-day ticker? Primarily just Tesla and Nvidia. Those ones, they just have a nice volatility, and you can look to scalp those as well. All right. What is your expiration in options? At least today, I would either size down on zeros or look to play next week. So for CRWV, finally breaking underneath this 148, and now this is pushing back towards the downside. So if you look at this on the daily time frame, finally pushing towards the downside, actually confirming this head and shoulders. Next level support all the way down in towards your 130. So for CRWV, your next level support all the way down in towards 130 and this 128. All right. 3K. Yeah, I answered that one. Abraham. So IBIT probably doesn't have PDT. Exactly. Yeah, you don't have PDT as well. I think PDT only applies if you are a US resident. All right, sounds good. I am going to call it a day here. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Let's see, what else do we have? Yeah, I think that's about it. So yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Hope you guys have a great weekend as well. If you guys did enjoy this, I appreciate if you guys drop me a like, and I will see you guys all next week. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the weekend.